In the world that is adoption and foster care, infants and young children are expected to simply accept what is placed in front of them, to put strangers in significant relational roles, such as a mum, dad, brother, and sister, all with little thought to the outcome and the wildly varied responses that remain for life until understood and healed. There are no simple answers here, and my intention is not to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Rather, I want to bring awareness to something that is not often spoken about, to open the conversations that are needed in so many people's lives. I'm reminded of just how many times adults are faced with a challenge that was so significant, so overwhelming, that they just didn't know what to do or say. Sometimes we are faced with challenges that we struggle to process or respond to. These experiences leave us reeling, trying to find our feet again and the right way to move on and process what has happened. Often these experiences make us pause before we can step into situations and experiences that are similar to or require us to face the emotions we are trying to forget. We all know how people get upset with us when we do not respond the way they think we should, or as quick as we should. How some people get upset when you sit back and try to work things out before committing, answering, or making a decision. Now, put this situation on an infant or young child. If we struggle as an adult with how complicated some situations are, then why do we forget just how hard it is when infants and young children are faced with situations we as adults struggle with? Never is this truer than in child removal, adoption, and foster placement. Infants and young children are expected to understand, process, and simply move on from what adults have created entire industries to try and resolve. When you look at all the marketing around counseling and mental health services, therapies, and the necessity for support to process significant loss or breakups, then why does all of this disappear when it comes to the experiences of infants and young children? Why then is so little thought given to the outcomes from such experiences? I am an adoptee. I live this struggle every day, as does so many others who were faced with the same beginnings. Yet most forget where we came from and why we struggle in certain situations as adults. Why sometimes we can feel a positive and a negative emotion about the same experience. Why we hesitate and how that creates difficulties in all our relationships. The hurt, pain, and trauma of these experiences runs deep and is often not acknowledged, spoken about, or supported. The reality created takes patience and time to understand. It is worth taking the journey into the labyrinth that is created when you remove an infant or child for placement. When we don't, it leaves many who have this experience no place to go to feel safe or at home. It is also why so many of us don't talk about it and simply withdraw from life, friendships, and relationships.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box with No Lid, a channel I'm creating not just to bring the awareness around the lived reality of trauma, complex trauma, removal trauma, the world that is adoption and the world that is foster care, but I really want to bring forward my own personal journey and experiences because I am an adoptee, and my many, many years and what I've learned over my many, many years as an advocate and as a practitioner, with the simple hope that something you may learn or hear here will not only open up doors of conversation that we all need to have, but also may be supportive in your own understandings and your own healing journey and improving the quality of you guys' lives. Now in this video, as you can tell by the claymation, the reason why I keep coming back to the jar that is our removal, the fog, in how it is referred to quite often in adoption circles, is it is undervalued. Even adoptees and those who go through foster care, we dismiss it far too easily. And the reason it gets dismissed is there is this belief in society, as adoption has been around since ancient Rome. Child removal has been around even before that for many reasons and many variations. There is this societal belief that children don't remember because children can't articulate what it is they're feeling. Young children especially have great difficulty articulating what is going on for them because they haven't got the life experience to be able to explain it, nor the vocabulary. So there is a societal belief that has been around for a long time that children don't remember. But the reality is our nervous system does, and our nervous system developed in those years the language we use to interpret our interactions, our connections, and how we interpret the world. And studies after studies, when you look at the ACE studies, adverse childhood experiences studies, and there's numerous studies that are showing the impact this has on those that have gone through that beginning. So our nervous system does remember. And even though society would love to be able to dismiss the impact removal and placement has on children, those of us who have gone through it, we have to live with that consequence. The other understanding that I want to get across in this video is we all understand that when you look at trauma, one of the biggest things you start to explore are trauma triggers. And the thing with removal trauma, and removal and placement trauma, is all of our triggers are associated with human connection and human interaction. Think about that for a moment. The triggers of our nervous system's threat and trauma response, that jar that our nervous system is doing everything to block out and repress, are all associated with human interaction and human connection. And when you have that realization, and you seriously take that realization on board, when you look at the behavior of children that have gone through those experiences, when you look in orphanages, when you look in foster care homes, when you look, at adoptees, young adoptees, you can start to recognize the behavior and see why. One of the key understandings that I've raised in one of the previous videos is we have a duality of feeling when we have human interactions, because the human interaction is a trigger. We can have somebody that we're deeply trying to connect to and have a deep resentment for at the same time because of a trigger. Because the emotions of the jar, the trauma jar of removal, are there, playing out at the same time. And it takes the pleasure out of interaction. It stops the nervous system valuing all the little intricacies associated with human interaction and human connection. We focus on the peaks and troughs. And it diminishes the way we physically engage. Because when you go through a trauma experience, when it gets to a certain point, we shut down. So these processes don't develop. And that creates and feeds this separation and this barrier, but it also alters how we can work with it, because we need to understand that this is what's going on first. But in this video, I just want to get you guys to think, to realize and value the understanding that when you remove a child for placement, regardless of justification and reasoning, that trauma response, the nervous system develops in that trauma response, and even if the child cannot articulate it, it's still there. And the triggers for all of that turmoil are associated with human interaction and human connection. Really take some time to think about it and sit with it. For those of us that have gone through it, even if it is hard, it starts to help us make sense of why we are the way we are, and why we developed and responded the way we do, and why we have the difficulties we do. It's like that relief you get with a diagnosis. Even though a diagnosis sucks, it's still a plan that you can do something with, and you can do stuff with this, but you first need to understand it and be aware of it. And due to the unique nature of this, that each individual has that, we have our own variation and combinations of this. Having our own personal understanding is really important, and it helps us understand where it is we want to make the changes we want to in our lives. But I really just want you guys to value the impact removal and placement has on those of us that have gone through it, and the children in society that are going through it right now, and not dismiss it like it has been for so long. I really hope you guys understand where I'm coming at with this, and I really love you guys' comments and feedback. And as always, be mindful, be safe, be respectful, and I'll see you all next time.